it's like a something that you lean out like this.
Yeah.
It goes like that. I don't think I could handle that. Let my luck, it would lean out and just keep on going.
There I am. You can't tell that glass tilts back like this, so I'm leaning back against it. Some butt shots. And even these tilted back. Teresa and Peggy had a really hard time sitting on those. There you can kind of tell how far you have to run.
Did you guys go listen to some grunge music?
No, they had different things that they had to attend.
Oh, did you sightsee?
Oh yeah.
I'm calling your name, not calling
I don't know what to do with this. Just execution.
She told me to add you to my roll call.
Okay. That'd be fine, but don't put me on the pay list. I don't get paid.
We discussed that too, so we're just gonna ask the mayor.
Okay.
We're not really sure.
Okay.
Who's the other one besides y'all? You think we can go in and just take your little thing?
I'm sorry. Just, hey, we got plenty of money. Oh, that's great.
Today was Valley.
She's valid.
Are they gonna do the same thing that Sarah's gonna do, or is that what the plan is? That's good.
If you, where was it, or what was it? It's like about the third or fourth page, toward the top.
Well, that's where we live.
I'm happy to lay it when I get here.
You can sit right there.
I thought you said.
I'll move over here.
I'm not either.
Mark, you wanna set that little desk right there?
Right now. Yeah, right here. On the, what you need to say is, it needs to allow for a member who has a direct conflict of interest. So if a member has a direct conflict of interest, it's the majority of six.
Yeah, it has to be the majority of the existing commission before committees. I think that's what the statute says.
But in everything that I've looked at on the CPAS thing, it's if a member has a direct conflict of interest, they don't count toward the full
So the
committee
remaining would be
of the remaining.
quorum of the remaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can change that. We just have to make a motion to do that. Get it through.
So when if it's one, it's not gonna matter. It's just gonna have to be one. If it's two, you're gonna have to have three. So, but I don't think we must have it anyway, but it just, John and I talked about wording it like that, just for future use.
Okay,
This time, it's fine.
okay. That's fine, just, well, somebody just needs to make a motion to, we'll just, now, we'll talk about something else.
Okay, I think I know what you're
We
gonna
just
talk
need to clear it up, you know.
about. That matters me one way or the
Well, I know, but we have to do the right thing, so.
other. Exactly.
Lance, you wanna do this when I get down to line item 6?
I've already talked to it with Commissioner Metz, and he's aware of it, so when we get to that point, he will take care of that.
there on the center.
That's right.
Okay, we'll call this, budget meeting to order. Sarah, can you do the roll call?
Rick Brewer,
Here.
Keith Gibson,
Here.
Valerie Goins, Michael Burrell,
Here.
Raymond Jesse,
Here.
John Metz,
Here.
Charles Thacker.
Here.
Mark DeWitt is the Personnel Committee Chairman.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have 7 members present constituting a quorum.
Okay, next we're gonna organize the committee. We're gonna start out getting a chairman for this committee. And I'd like to nominate John Metz.
I'll second that.
Anybody else?
Move nomination, please.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, likewise. Okay, Mr. Metz, it belongs to you.
Next order of business will be nominating a vice chair. Do we have any nomination?
Mr. Thacker.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion and a second.
Nomination, please.
Any opposition to that? If not, motion stands. Now nominate a secretary.
I move Valerie.
Commissioner Goins.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other nominations?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Did you get a second on the secretary?
Get a motion to cease nominations. We'll just let this go.
I'll make that motion with these nominations.
Need to add a motion for approval of consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, need a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion passes. Approval of budget committee minutes for August 2018.
I move to be approved.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. All those agreeing to that motion, please signify by saying aye. No opposed, motion passes. Move right on to the committee, budget committee bylaws. There's a couple of instances in the bylaws that we need to address. Believe it or not, out of all this, I think I've left mine. Ms. Robert, did you address the one?
If you all brought your bylaws with you, it will be on the 4th page at the top, under number 5. Does anybody need the extra copy?
I thought I had mine, sir, but that's fine, I can look out.
Sarah.
Yes, sir.
What that says is any individual requesting to speak at a Hawkins County Budget Committee monthly meeting must submit their name and items to be discussed on or before the second Monday of the month. The written request should be submitted to the Hawkins County Budget Committee's recording secretary or clerk. And the reason behind that is that several years ago, before this became effective, people were coming to the budget committee asking for certain things, and the budget committee did not have any information to make an informed decision. So this ruling took place and was put in the bylaws for the budget committee so that the information can be provided to the recording secretary. We can copy whatever the requester is asking for, send it to you in ample time for you to study, ask any questions before you're asked to make a decision. So when we first started this program, we asked that the information be provided to the recording secretary the first week of the month. That gives us ample time to make a copy of and send it out to you, so that you've got time for your questions or research. In this bylaws, it says the second Monday, which doesn't give us really enough time to get all that together, especially if we're in a busy time period. So I would like for you to consider changing this to, instead of it being the first Monday, being the second Monday being the first Monday or the first week. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Monday, but sometime during the first week.
We have a motion to amend the bylaws.
So moved.
Have a motion, second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor? Motion passed. Do we need to address the issue under the forum?
I think so, since if we're gonna actually be changing or thinking about changing that, I think we need to go ahead and get a motion to change it before we want to.
What proposed verbiage?
I had it jotted down and then didn't bring it with me, but right now what it says is a quorum shall consist of a majority of 7 members of the budget committee. In this instance, it would probably not come into play, but according to CTAS regulations, if a member of the committee has a direct conflict of interest and is not going to vote on that issue, then it becomes the majority of the remaining members. I don't know exactly how it should be worded. Come on. It should be a majority of the remaining members. If it's going to be the set of bylaws that moves forward from this committee, I don't think anyone on this committee would have a direct conflict of interest with any budget issues. But as long as you're changing it, you might as well change it to reflect what it really needs to be from now on. So I would say something like a quorum shall consist of a majority of members who do not have a direct conflict of interest on the issue, on any issue being voted, on the issue being voted. Does that make sense to everybody? In this instance, even if one had a direct conflict, you'd still need 4 for a majority, but if 2, then you'd need 3 for a majority. So as long as making the bylaws official, you might as well go ahead and change that at this time rather than wait until the circumstances come up.
So, for it to read, a quorum shall consist of a majority of 7 members who do not have a direct conflict of interest pertaining to the topic at hand.
Majority of members, cross out 7.
A quorum shall consist of a majority of members who do not have a direct conflict of interest pertaining to the topic at hand.
Correct.
Motion. Second. Have a motion and a second. to make that a
Discuss,
rule.
this question on that. When they made, I mean, what this motion is if there was an individual, if item came up at the meeting that, was a conflict of interest for one of the members.
Mhm.
So,
They would withhold their vote. They would abstain from voting, but they would not be counted toward the total people present for the vote.
As of right now, if that individual that had a direct conflict of interest, if you had 4 members present constituting a quorum and that 4th person.
Right, so that would leave you without a quorum on that? Is that what
on that particular, issue, yes.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Are there any other concerns?
I've left my papers at home, but when was that meeting? It was a set time of meeting. It was the third Monday at what time?
Our regular, how we've always met,
Right.
it's always the third Monday or the Monday prior to county commission. It's always been preset for that
The
particular.
third Monday or the Monday before the county commission meeting.
Yeah, or Tuesday. If we've got, for instance, if we've got a Monday holiday and we're not here, then we'll have budget committee on
What
Tuesday.
time was that? Like,
The prior term was at 1:30.
could we change that to 3:30?
Well, what's that gonna do to the staff here? That's one.
Causes them to run into overtime.
You're not here till 4:30?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. About 3 then.
It's 1 minute.
How often the budget committee try to over an hour to an hour and a half? Substantial.
Not too many times, most of the time. Sometimes they may go an hour and a half, but generally they're not over too awful much. It just depends on what's going on, what kind of resolutions are being asked for you to look at. Might not just be budget amendments, there might be some other resolutions that you have to look at, that you would look at. But the other times that we've had a long meeting is when we've talked about retirement plans or health insurance plans, and that causes us to go over an hour sometimes. Because you're looking at the whole agenda, budget agendas, and then 2 issues that might require a lot of conversation.
So the previous set time of 1:30 seemed to work out.
It worked out well for this office, yes, it did.
Are you okay with that?
I'm just one person, but the later the better for me. And Mr. Thacker. Correct.
I mean, I'm fine, it don't matter. I mean, it'd be fine, but
If we do it at 2 o'clock, would that be enough time for everybody to say their piece? Not 2 o'clock, yeah, 2 o'clock, because 1:30 was the original, we met today at 2:30. I think we can handle
2:30
it
would
at 2
be
o'clock.
better for me, if we could just move it to 2:30, it'd still be better for me. But I mean, I say, I'm one individual.
Well, you try to work with everybody you can, but what Rick's talking about is like, for Wednesday's meeting, for example, and today, for example, if you, you have it at 2:30 today, well, and he's working, maybe across Clinton.
That's where I was working.
And you get out of here, say at 15:04 or 4 o'clock, that don't give him enough time to go back and do any work before dark. And in summer months, you're gonna run your whole afternoon, the best you can do, no matter what it is. And I understand what you're trying to, and I'm in the same boat, really. I know I was on here before, I've driven from like Fort Blackmore, take me an hour and 5 minutes, and I broke the speed limit a little. To get here to the 1 o'clock meeting, when they have, you know, around 1 o'clock.
We have had some meetings at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak for the mayor, but I'm sure that he would instruct this office to do whatever, it takes to make you all have a good meeting. The only thing is, even if we were to say, we're only allowed to have so many hours of comp time, okay? And so we have to kind of watch our comp time, but even if you say, come in 30 minutes or an hour later, this office don't have time to come in. I mean, things are booming at 8 o'clock when we come in, we've got things that have to be done. People are calling for help or do this or do that. So, we don't have time to come in later in the morning to be able to stay over later in the day. However, if Mayor Lee says we will grant you the comp time, then I'm sure that we will do whatever it takes to satisfy your needs.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm speaking for the mayor.
I make a recommendation that we have our budget meeting third Monday, possibly on Tuesday, if there's a holiday, at 2:30 in the afternoon. That gives you an hour and a half for this office, whatever the mayor's office closes. And, if we've got anything last over an hour and a half, we can just talk faster.
So we have a motion, third Tuesday, 2:30.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please state the same aye. Motion passes. Anything additional regarding the rules and regulations? So, there's none, we'll move on to the, pending resolution for this month.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just give a real quick report, update on our wheel tax report, if that's okay for the budget committee.
Yes, ma'am.
I have my first true numbers comparing 2 months, collections on the wheel tax. So I have October of 2017, we collected $223,896.71 in wheel tax collections. And October of 2018, that was $308,822.20. So we've collected an additional $84,925 and a few cents from last year, last October's versus this year's October. So I just wanted to make the committee aware of that.
All the resolutions, it seemed to be pretty self-explanatory. It was offsetting entry and every adjustment. So, and they did a good job of preparing that within the resolution. But did anybody have any additional questions for any of those resolutions?
Didn't exactly have a question. I do have a comment about the second resolution. The one about disabled and property owners over 65 years of age. My only concern with that is we're gonna have a budget shortfall if we adopt that this time in the budget. It was, I think it was, you actually presented that previously and it was voted down. At that point in time, that would have been a fine time to do it. But I feel like at this point in time, it's not a really good time to do it because we had to use $95,284 out of our fund balance to balance our budget for this year. So I myself kind of have a problem with us doing something like that and using more money out of possibly out of our fund balance.
It's, assuming there's no comments on the budget amendments, and it's everybody in agreement to discuss this.
I'd like to know how much, what the physical amount actually would be on that before we voted on it. I think we need more information before we vote on it and find out exactly how much that physical amount would be.
I have that somewhere here, or close, from the trustee, because when I saw this resolution, I actually asked, there was approximately, well, there was 1,220 people on this year's tax relief program that qualified. So if you multiply 1,220 times $40, I think it was 48,000 some odd dollars is what the cost of that was going to be.
That's assuming that all of them have a vehicle.
Yes.
A concern that I have, the way that resolution is written, they have to be a property owner. They have to be 65 and over. They also have to have qualifying disability.
No.
And the way that's
I'm
written,
sorry.
it says and qualifying. It doesn't say and or.
And or, I agree.
So that cuts that number significantly more. It's such a minute demographic of the population. And I don't know that that's what she intended to do, and that's why presenting these resolutions outside of the committee, and there's two like that this month, that's very confusing, and there's a tremendous number of questions. But I don't know what her actual intent was. But based on the way that's written, it's very small demographic. You've got to meet 4 parameters. That's going to be significantly less
Actually, the physical note on that would be very much.
to what she has it written. And how can you actually quantify that information?
They have to be on the state's list each year, and it comes out one time a year, is my understanding. Of course, that comes through the trustee's office.
What? I'm sorry.
The way that's written, though, it sounds like you have to qualify for all 3 of those things at the same time, not individually.
And the thing is, when you're 65 years old, you're eligible for Social Security benefits whether you're disabled or not. So that disabled term, if she means the way it's written in here, is totally obsolete because you don't have to be disabled at age 65 to get Social Security benefits.
But the intent, I believe, of the former budget committee and several other commissioners was to begin to wean that $40 off. And one thing I definitely disagree with on that resolution is abating the entire $40, because you're isolating a demographic that actually is going to potentially utilize emergency services more than your average citizen. So there's a lot of things. Hopefully she'll be able to address all those issues during the commission meeting.
Well, was this resolution written by her, or was it written in the office? Did she have somebody write it in the office?
No, this came from her.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times, you know, they're just written up here. Just tell you, what pretty basic of what you want, it's written up here.
The commission may bring a substantial amount of information to support that particular resolution. I wish it would go through this committee, but we can't control that.
But you all do see what my concerns are.
And so there's no real action that we can take on that. Any other concerns? No, we're on actual resolutions and not budget.
I guess we need to discuss the resolution about the health insurance. I don't know by law if the insurance will carry somebody after they deceased.
Well, I'll say this, I contacted the legal department, or underwriters, and the insurance consultant, and no one has contacted them. So they actually have to approve that we placed in the contract before it can be done. So once again, we've got the cart before the horse on that resolution. So that probably, since we have a health insurance committee, I would have anticipated it would have went through that committee, in which he's on that committee. So perhaps maybe he'll table that until after we have a health insurance committee, and we can get clarification from the underwriters and the consultant. If that's the desire of the commission to do that, then we'll have to get approval and amendment in the actual contract to do that.
It would be better to table the resolution right now and get further
discuss? I would like to, entertain a motion to suspend the rules for another topic.
Excuse me.
We can do so.
Move to suspend the rules.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor, please state the same aye. Okay, we'll move straight on. One thing that I would like to do, if it pleases the committee, is that we develop some subcommittees, based on how much of a percentage that certain department takes of the tax levy. If it's say 20% of actual tax levy, perhaps we should have a subcommittee that works with that department head to determine what their strategy, what their long-term goal is, and how that affects the budget, not only the upcoming budget, but future budgets. And I've generated a spreadsheet that I can share with whoever is chosen to head up those subcommittees. In my mind, I thought would be a subcommittee for the sheriff's department, committee for education department, which I know we have an education committee, but this would be solely financial planning side of it based on the tax levy movements that's been made over the past 3 years, to the debt service account of the school system and also the BDP reductions, and how to try and determine how it affects the school board and their potential need for capital projects. And also a subcommittee for long-term planning and debt mitigation. And I feel like we have 3 subcommittees that are focused on those 3 items, that's actually going to generate a substantial amount of information and data that can be shared with the full commission to make better educated decisions. And I think in the spreadsheet, what time that I put into crunching some of these numbers, I believe you'll see quickly where some potential areas of concern are. If anybody would like to discuss that, I'd like to just simply open the floor for an open debate and discussion on establishing subcommittees.
Will these subcommittees consist of us or outside?
What, that would be a decision of this committee. My thought was that we would have 2 members of this committee and up to 3 additional for a total of 5 members, 3 other members at large. They could be from county commission, they could be from experts in the community. You could pull somebody from, Ms. Farmer from the Department of Education, and just pull key people in that actually deal with that particular subject.
Sounds good.
Because I've been on the county commission before, this will be my 9th year, and there's still a lot of stuff that you actually find out after the fact, or something occurs, and then you start backpedaling and researching, and you find, okay, well, 6 years ago, this occurred, and even though it's in the minutes, people forget, and that one action that was taken snowballs to affect this action, and then this action, you know where I'm getting at. I just think it's going to make us a much better educated committee and commission as a whole. Well, I think everybody's goal is to try and ensure that this commission is blended and cohesive as much as possible, and that solely comes with ensuring that everybody has the information at hand, and if they don't, we're gonna find it, we're gonna get to the bottom of it. So those, and in my mind, those 3 subcommittees would be a good start for us. Those subcommittees would not be compensated. And they would just be solely advisory. They actually can't take any action whatsoever, but perhaps making a presentation to this body, to the full commission, just like what we did when we were dealing with the EMS. We pulled together an exploratory committee of individuals that weren't even commissioners, and came in and made a presentation to help guide on some decision making. So with that, I'll turn it over, and you guys got something that you would like to do, then we'll entertain motions to that effect.
I'd like to make a motion and go ahead and do subcommittee.
We have a motion, entertain a second. A motion and a second, any further discussion? I'm sorry, I kind of put the cart before the horse on discussion, but we'll get that out there.
Who, are you gonna appoint these committees, John, or who's gonna appoint the committees?
I can, if you'd like for me to, or if there's volunteers for it, then, I mean,
Work with the mayor on that?
I can do that. If that's the pleasure of the committee.
Do we need a motion to that effect, or amend that motion, or just go ahead and vote on that motion
Just go
and
ahead
then
and add it to my motion.
Okay.
get a second on that?
Could you actually state what you're adding to the motion for the record, please?
Go ahead.
That the chairman and the mayor will be the one that appoints the subcommittees.
There'll be a subcommittee, appoint a person from this committee, and then they would organize themselves. Could you restate that motion, please? Make sure everybody's on the same page.
That the chairman and the mayor would be the people who would appropriate the, subcommittees.
Now, is that chair of the budget committee or chair of commission budget committee?
And they in turn would report to the education or whatever committee, the three that you mentioned there.
Yeah, I think once you get organized, that you kind of create your own directives and, plan of attack, so to speak. Because once you start digging into some things, you may decide that committee needs to work more closely with another, just essentially to gain more information for whatever your end goal is ultimately for the full commission.
I'd like to, if you don't care, I'd like to add Valerie to you and the mayor's decision on this committee. Let her help also.
We have do you want to amend that, or do you want to change or amend? Okay.
Yeah, just amend that, just add her name to it.
Secretary.
Yeah. Secretary.
We have a motion on the amendment, can we get a second on the amendment?
I say,
All those in favor, please state the same aye.
We vote on the amendment.
On the amendment.
Aye.
Amendment passes. Now we're on to full motion.
Make motion approved.
Motion by Commissioner Harrell. Good thing we've got these voice recorded. Need a second.
I'll take it.
All those in favor, please state the same aye. Motion passes.
Was that Gibson on the second? I'm sorry.
You can't keep up with you, can't you?
I'm not familiar with the voices, and if I'm looking down and you speak, I don't know where it comes from. Sorry.
Then we'll approve the subcommittee.
Yeah, but you didn't have to make that motion, it's been already made, it was amended, so this motion as amended, what we should have been voting on.
I'm just want to be sure we all, I don't want to come out of here and wonder what we've done.
But anyway, it double things, right?
Yeah, we got it. All right, since we suspended the rules on that particular, item, I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, do we need to take any action on these budget resolutions, we just gonna let them stand?
Well, that's, you're talking, the actual, you're not talking about the budget amendments, you're talking about those two resolutions.
I'm talking about the budget amendments, are we gonna recommend send them to the?
Well, also, we just got to get motion for that.
That's what he was asking.
I'd open the floor for it, and then we kind of change
He opened
topics.
full for discussion on any resolution we had, but we.
We never did get any motion to send that to the commission or whatever. Do we need to do that one by one, or can we do them all?
They're different funds, okay, you got general fund, solid waste fund, general purpose school fund, and federal project funds, I believe, if my memory is correct in there. So you need to have a motion for every one of those funds.
I'll make a motion on 218-1105, the general fund, that we send that to full commission.
Have a motion,
I'll second.
and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next question, amendment.
So,
I make a motion to send 2018-11-06, solid waste fund, make a motion to send that to full commission.
Have a motion and a second.
Ruben Patrick.
Mr. Thacker. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to the next budget amendment.
All right, I'll make a motion, we send on, 218-1107, the general purpose school budget fund.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second by Commissioner Burrell. All right, I'll try to get my head into doing that. All those, accepting that, full motion, please say aye. Next budget amendment.
I'll make a motion to send 2018-11-08, federal projects fund budget amendment. Make that motion to send that to full county commission.
We have a motion, require a second, and a second.
Jason. Hey, Jason.
I'll promise I'll work on that. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Motion passed. That's all of it. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I see.
A motion by Commissioner Gray and a second by Commissioner Jones. Any opposed? I'll be here in 3.
Ah, you done good.
Oops. Don't step on your glasses, Jim.
Trying to get a picture of everybody together.
Oh,